All right, then, welcome back. Still Breakfast Central on News Central on this one day morning with Olisa and Tolulokwe at Delaru Balogu. Don't forget, you can catch us here online on social media at News Central TV. Clearly, it's where to be, and also the website, newscentral.africa.
And let's get into our first conversation. So over the weekend, we marked the World Day of Social Justice, which is observed with the objective of raising a voice against social injustice. Now, in line with this, the UN adopted the Declaration on Social Justice for a Fair Globalization by the International Labour Organization. This declaration is focused upon guaranteeing fair and just outcomes for everyone through social protection, justice, employment, fundamental principles, social dialogue, and just rights at the workplace.
Now, this year's commemoration has the theme, a call for social justice in the digital economy. Now, it seeks to support efforts by the international community to search for solutions to achieve sustainable development, poverty eradication, the promotion of full employment and decent work, including universal social protection, gender equality, and not forgetting access to social well-being and social justice for all.
Now, the General Assembly of the United Nations recognizes that social development and social justice are indispensable. Social justice cannot be obtained in the absence of peace and security or in the absence of respect for all human rights and fundamental freedoms. Now, with the COVID-19 pandemic that has increased the acceptance of remote work by digital platforms and the factors that influence the labor opportunities and produce digital divides, what steps should be taken to ensure social justice in a digital world?
Well, we're joined by our global affairs analyst this morning, Nweke. Collins, good morning to you.
Very good morning to you, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Always jolly good to have you on the program, Breakfast Central, Collins. Now, this pandemic, has highlighted, how serious the consequences are, for the more than 3 billion people that lack reliable and, affordable and meaningful access to the internet. We also know that, the digital economy and the digital society only exist for those who are connected to it, and the people who are, falling into digital and economic poverty are, disproportionately, the people like women, poor people, children, and people of color, you have to say. So how do we build communities that, invest, vehicles necessary to deliver meaningful access to all and end what we can call this digital divide?
Yes, thank you again for having me, Ulisan Tolu. The theme for this year's World Day for Social Justice could not be more apt than focusing on the digital divide, but not just the digital divide, but the fact that it is widening every day. Now, the COVID-19 has actually made it very, very bad. Now, if you are not involved, if you are not affected, you wouldn't know how much, it has made an already complicated situation to be completely worse. I know this being a counselor for social affairs myself, knowing that in this era where people, especially school children, have to work from home, do their homework and so on and so forth, I know that my constituents who actually are not, digitalized at home, for want of a better word to use, that the risk of driving them more into poverty was a lot more real. And so if the local administration, my office didn't step in to ensure that they were empowered with all the facilities they needed, not just laptops or computers or tablets as the case may be, but also access to internet, that would have been the end of their school career. Just to leave it by one example. So the point I'm trying to make here, Olisa, is the fact that the government has a very cardinal role to play in terms of setting the ground rules and then, of course, the private sector, represented by businesses and all of that, would have to step in as well to meet the government halfway. They need to do this because it is also investing in the society and the community where they are operating from, and indeed it is important that everybody is carried along. So yes, it's a joint effort.
Okay, so when we talk about it being a joint effort, we're also looking at the responsibility of citizens as well, and it goes beyond equality. In fact, it requires equity and a fundamental recognition of the value of human diversity. It also means ensuring that the internet reflects the multiplicities of being human, and that seems to be an issue for many of us. What approach do you think is required to get users, that is citizens, involved in decision-making processes at every level so that their rights and realities are actually accounted for?
Very, very important question, Chulu. Now, I know that this is important because prior to the massive digitalization of the world, there were efforts at, community-based consultations where, as, municipal legislators, we were expected, as a matter of fact, actually obliged to find one way or the other to reach out to our communities, organize them at, the sort of village and quarters level. Now, with digitalization, it has then been made much easier because from the comfort of your room, you can actually involve, policy consultations with your community, with your constituents. But you can only say this if the members of that community are digitalized. The truth of the matter is that more than 70% of the community are not digitalized to the extent that you can actually very meaningful, policy consultation or even legislative consultations with them. So again, it becomes it has to be an all-society affair whereby in every policy that government makes, they need to take digitalization into consideration so that it becomes an integral part of the community. So it is no longer, an elite thing. It has become a necessity, and government has a cardinal role to play there.
All right, Collins. Now, we know that, this World Day of Social Justice has been around for a while. Now, apart from this year's thing about social justice for a digital economy, a digital world, how far have we come in terms of achieving social justice, globally, for all? Has it been a fair fight? Has it been a worth endeavor, especially from the UN?
There are still a lot of work to do, even though, a lot of progress has been made over the years. Now, I say this because if you look at, recent figures, and I'm going to actually highlight just a few.
Okay.
Unemployment growth since 2008 has averaged only 0.1% annually. Now, what has to happen? Yes, there are cause for concern, but those concerns are only there because there have not been, consciously deliberate policies for government to grow along with the same speed that digitalization is doing. And that is where a regulation comes in. I believe that there has to be fair and just regulation of the social media such that, the level, the playing field is level for everyone. And everyone on the planet, of course, there has to be implementation as well. So what that means is that if you have, rules, rule-based digitalization growth, when you have that, you also have to understand, and that is for the society, that those who contravene will have to be, reprimanded. They have to pay for the consequences. There has to be a common rule governing the game, and so the government has nothing to fear.
All right. Well, global affairs analyst Nweke, I would like to take you up on this, regulation and social media. But if we start that,
that's a whole other conversation.
Today, so we'll let you go for now, Nweke. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us on the program, Breakfast Central.
Always a pleasure to be with you, Mr. Antolo. Bye for now.
All right, bye for now. Thank you. And there's no way we can talk about digital economy without governments. We've seen a few moves in places like Nigeria, the ban on cryptocurrency, the continuing calls for social media regulation. How do those things impact Nigerians' ability to be part of what is now the global economy? The global economy is not, it's digital now. And if we have governments who are sort of standing in the way, not acting as protectors, but more as obstacles, what happens then?
And thereby hampering a bit of social justice,
yes.
In the process of social justice, because you're asking, yes, it's a system for trade. But not just, Bitcoin clamping down.
No,
social media regulation, and who regulates? Should the government regulate? Or should we be left to the social media companies? We know that they say these tech giants are just too big, to be regulated.
And they're for profit. So is their interest actually the best interest of the people?
And when they do regulate, what makes them, the right? Just like people talked about when Donald Trump was banned by Twitter, and people were like, okay, should Twitter even have that so much power in the first place? I'm like, oh my gosh. This is bigger than we even thought.
It is. It's a massive conversation, but we hope we've been able to just scratch the tip of the iceberg and get you interested in something that many of us are not really cognizant of. It is your rights. The United Nations has said it is everyone's right to have fair, quality access to the internet, because that alone can change so many things for not just Nigeria, but across the continent, across the world. So we need to fight for our social justice.